The NBA and its players continue to mourn the loss of Kobe Bryant, and here at the Smoothie King Center, it was no different. Josue Pavon here, joined once again by MassLive.com's John Karalis. John, for the first time in my career, I couldn't go into the Celtics locker room. That's how devastating this news was for the NBA and, of course, the Celtics players. You had a chance to hop into the locker room right after the game. I followed suit, but what was your initial feeling? What was it like being in there with all those guys?
I mean, surreal. I mean, you just said it. You just introduced by saying the tragic death of Kobe Bryant. It doesn't make sense. Typing those words out doesn't make sense. I'm sure for those guys, it doesn't make any sense. And people need to understand how tightly knit this fraternity of NBA players is. There are so few NBA players out there that these legends are revered. And I know Boston Celtics fans who have had a hatred for Kobe Bryant, the player, as far as the theater of it goes, that him being this villain, a Laker. But ultimately, when you hold somebody in a high enough regard to hate him as a rival, that shows a certain level of respect. But for these players, it goes beyond that. This guy is somebody that Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown look up to. And these guys are 20-something years old. You know, when you think about it, Kobe Bryant was, when they were old enough to understand what was going on, I mean, it was only like 10 years ago.
He was their Jordan.
Yeah, he really was. So he inspired these guys. These guys copied his moves. Jason Tatum was just too devastated to talk. He had that hood up over his head, and I was told that he got on the bus with that hood on his head. He kept it on the whole time. He left with that hood on his head bowed. It's tragic. I feel horrible for these guys. A guy like Tatum, I mean, it's a hero.
Especially someone who he worked directly with. He had a personal relationship with. You know?
Yeah, I mean, for me, what's really getting me is the fact that his daughter was on the helicopter, and obviously there's the tragic loss of 9 people altogether. But this is hard. This is hard for these guys to really grasp. I mean, Gordon Hayward, I think, was really holding back tears in his post-game interview. I mean, Kobe played against Kobe. Kobe sent him that message on Instagram after he had that horrible injury. I mean, they've shared, very special kind of personal interaction, and to know that that's not going to be there anymore, it is very hard to process. And then on top of it, a guy like Hayward, you can't help but put yourself in that position. Here's a father with daughters just like him, to say, like, look, you fly all the time, and you put yourself in that position, like, oh my God, what would happen? Your mind just naturally goes there. So it's such a swirl of emotions, and it's probably going to be a long time before these guys can fully process, and like all of us, can fully process what this means.
Yeah, it's been really difficult. I mean, you look at, I like how you brought up the rivalry and Celtics fans and how they feel about Kobe Bryant, because I think what made that rivalry so special, like, one, he was like the best villain you could think of, right? Because he was one of the greatest, easily some of the most classic matchups that we've seen between the Celtics and the Lakers in the last 15 years. Of course, Kobe Bryant at the center of it. But what also made it so special was that foundation, that level of respect. That, in my opinion, it speaks volumes for what he was to the game, and of course to what he meant to this game and that rivalry, and for Celtics fans that followed it.
Yeah, I think one thing that really made him the perfect villain is that he enjoyed that so much. I mean, I know just from having played basketball, my favorite was not playing at home. My favorite was shutting up a road crowd. Now to do that at an exponentially higher level, Lakers, Celtics, NBA Finals, to do that, to go into somebody else's house and hear the boos and then just shut them up. I mean, and he reveled in that. And I can say now, from my own experience of like growing up in the Boston area, how we felt about Magic Johnson in the 80s, and how you come around to, like, you know what, I respect the warrior that these guys are. And he became this Lakers legend, but it's just all by happenstance. It could have very easily been Kobe as a Celtic and Paul Pierce as a Laker, and we'd have reverse conversations about these guys. And it's just a matter of just the sheer luck of the draft and what teams needed and all of that stuff. So I think an appreciation for him wanting to give you his best. And those guys, you can't help but respect. Whatever your feelings are about him in general, as a basketball player, you respect the hell out of that because he's giving you everything he had. He wants to kill you on the floor, and you go out there and you want to do the same. At the end, you can feel good about dapping him up, giving him a hug, and the best man at the end wins. Sometimes it's you, sometimes it's him, but as long as you give that fight and he's giving his fight, then you have that respect, and he always, always, always gave that fight.
I think what resonates with me the most is the process, right? I mean, the moments of winning championship is great, but it's fleeting, And with Kobe Bryant, it was, okay, the trophy chest, there was an empty one because he was always looking for the next championship, and I love that about Kobe Bryant. When the Celtics blew him off the floor in Game 6 in 2008 Finals, what did he do? Instead of erasing those memories, no, he embraced it. He played Journey, Don't Stop Believing, which was what the crowd was singing in those winding 2-3 minutes when they knew that they were going to win the game. Ship Up to Boston was another one. Dropkick Murphys, those moments that he knew he was never going to forget, and he used that as motivation. I think that's completely been a huge influence on this generation of NBA players.
Yeah, I mean, winning championships, I mean, it is chasing like a drug high. You get it, and now the next one, it's never quite as good. It's hard to get, and it's just. You have to have, I don't want to play into like the whole Mamba mentality, but like all of those guys at that level have a thing that makes them who they are. Jordan, Larry Bird, Kobe, those elite players. Physically, there are guys, Javante Green is more athletic than those guys. I mean, there are players that are bigger, faster, stronger, can shoot better, can do. What makes him one of those guys that was just a killer? It's a mentality. It's an unwillingness to lose, to settle, to let you win. Like, yeah, you had that respect of like, okay, you got me, but when you got me, it just fueled that like,
Wait till next time.
Yeah. All right, okay, you got me on that one. Yeah. Respect to you. Yeah. Now I'm going to come at you harder. And like those guys, the elite of the elite, the Kevin Garnett's of the world that can get themselves into this mental place that I couldn't even fathom. I mean, that's what separates. And that's when you hear these guys talking about him with such reverential kind of words. It's because it's almost impossible to do that, and you don't know how. Like, how does he keep getting himself there? Because we just went through this January stretch where everybody's like, ugh, whatever. Guys like that, they don't let themselves get into those kind of things, and it's inspirational, and it's kind of sad that it takes this to kind of bring out that feeling of inspiration from what he was, and even talking him in the past tense right now just feels weird.
It does. And John and I, we can talk hours about Kobe Bryant and his legacy. Check us out, of course, on CLNSmedia.com. I'm going to wrap things up here at the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans. I will see you in Miami. For John Karalis, I am Josue Pavon, CLNS Media.